the dating coaching.
Sure.
Now, people, I think that's something that everybody wonders about. I mean, you know, we were talking earlier. I mean, people have seen Hitch,
Right.
but what is it in real life? Like, talk about that a little bit and what you do. And
Okay, it is like Hitch and it's not.
Okay.
So I work with men and some women. I do still work with some women, but mostly men. And what I do is I'll kind of walk you through the process.
Okay.
So a guy calls me and says, "Listen, I need some help." And depending on what, I'll question them and find out, you know, what is their problem. But generally, what I'll do is I'll meet with them in person or through phone, and I'll give them a set of material. And what this material is basically, they have to get out there and start learning how to approach people. Now, they're not actually going to be approaching women to talk to them or get their phone number, but they're going to be going up and asking things like, you know, for directions to the local Starbucks, or like just random things, getting used to approaching. And I give them kind of a set of homework to do over a 3-week period of time.
Okay.
So we're going to meet, I give them material, they practice for 3 weeks, and then we actually go out together.
okay, so this is actually a little more.
There's like a curriculum.
Yeah,
It is a
exactly, which is
curriculum.
great.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because you can learn to do this stuff. And I've seen some of the, honestly, the ugliest guys in the world be able to meet some of the most gorgeous and most incredibly high quality women in the entire world. It's
hope for us.
fascinating. Yeah, well, and the funniest thing is, it's the opposite, is a lot of women and men assume that because you're good looking, that you automatically are going to be attractive to the opposite sex.
Right.
And that's also not true. So it's fascinating in learning, you know, what are the most important things to be able to actually attract women and attract the opposite
I
sex.
think the first step in leading toward that is for people is that they have to be confident. And I think what's great about what you do is the fact that you were explaining to us earlier that you used to have a problem with that. And so what you did is you identified that problem and you worked toward it. Now, I think the fact that you're helping others to do that lends a great deal of credibility to what you do because you've been through it.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that.
100%, Brendan. Because honestly, I've seen a lot of dating coaches, a lot of dating guys who they've always been good, you know, and they can't really be able to understand what people are going through. And I know we'll talk about my book a little bit later, but that's why I named the book "Being Alone Sucks," because I think unless people know what it's like to be kind of helpless about being alone, like unless you know what that feels like, you can't really help people and be able to relate to them. And then just as far as going out, you know, once after they do their homework, we actually go out together. We go to social venues, and yes, we'll actually be approaching. And I'll be doing a lot of demonstration, and I can show them how it all works. Kind of sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they'll be going out as well, and we'll actually be interacting together.
Right,
when we go.
and we just showed a clip earlier of you out there approaching women, which, you know, on your site is sort of just an example of some of the stuff that you do here. I'm going to see it again right here.
Sure.
So, this is something that I kind of wanted to know. Do you have a job because people don't really know how to communicate with each other? Is that why you have a dating coaching career?
I would say so. I don't want to say people don't know how to communicate with each other. They're kind of scared to do it in a way. There's just that fear that we have.
I think at the core of it is just that fear of rejection. I'm not going to be accepted, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, absolutely. There are communication styles that, because really at the end of the day, and what I talk about a lot in my seminars and talk about a lot with guys, is it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that is the most important thing. Body language is 100, body language and tonality is everything in communication.
I like to use a British accent.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you say, it sounds great.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that is how you project confidence. And I didn't realize how important that was. I was always like, oh, what's the best line to go pick up chicks?
Right.
Honestly, I'll sometimes have my coaching clients, I'll say, listen, give me anything in the world, and I'll go and talk to them.
Yep.
And I'll go up and just do it with a certain way, communication style, that it is effective. Because people they only listen to 7% of what you say anyways. So.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
So, all right. So one thing, and I kind of mentioned this last week, we had Susan Baxter, the wing woman coordinator, last week, and sort of brought this up to her, and I wanted to bring this up to you as well. Do you find that it's difficult to get clients, to market yourself, because men in general sort of have a hesitancy to admit that they need some kind of help, any kind of help in dating? And dating is hard. I think it's like, I don't think it is a sign of weakness to admit that you might need some help. And the thing, before you answer, I wanted to kind of say was that it doesn't matter, you know, learning about what you do, it doesn't matter if you are the greatest guy out there as far as like you can, you meet a lot of women, whatever. You can always kind of use a little help. You know what I mean? You can always get a little bit better. You can be somebody that meets a lot of women, but there could be a couple of things that you could do that would make you even more effective, or some things you can learn from a guy like yourself. So, I mean, are guys usually hesitant to come to you and say, "Hey, man, I need to hire you. I need some help"?
Well, just on that last point too, quality and quantity are two totally different things too. Because there's some guys they have no trouble meeting women, but they just want to up their quality.
Right.
And when I say quality, I don't mean just looks at all. I mean intelligence, success, things like that.
Yep.
But on your second point, excuse me if I digress. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's funny is when I meet guys, they'll instead of saying like, "Listen, Adam, I need help in this area." When I say, "Hey, I'm a dating coach," if just like at a cocktail party or something, they'll actually, instead of saying, "Oh yeah, I need help," they'll actually tell me how awesome they are with the women. It's like,
Really?
"Oh yeah, so like I went out the other night, and I was able to pick up all these chicks, blah blah blah," and they just want to show off, and that's just like the epitome of guy pride.
Yeah.
And regardless of the reality of how that is, guys just don't want to admit that they have trouble with women.
Yeah.
And trust me, I was the first one to not wanting to admit that, and I think once you just give in, you realize, hey, I could use some help.
Yep.
It just makes the whole process a lot
We
easier.
readily admit it, by the way. Go
To
ahead.
quote the great Daryl Hall and John Oates, they're wearing a mask of false bravado, is what they're doing.
What song is that from?
She's gone?
Oh, all right.
All right.
I don't know.
Well,
That's good.
So quickly,
but it's true, I mean, regardless of the fact.
So you have the live, and we want to get into the book, so we have to do this pretty quickly. But
Sure.
you have the live coaching before we get into the book. We also have the virtual coaching. Sorry, Kyle. We also have the virtual coaching that you do, which is sort of like a little starter thing for. Just describe that. Is that like a Skype thing usually?
Sure.
Or
Yeah, one of my newest things that I've been doing is I'm actually offering virtual coaching on my site. So anyone in the entire world can actually have my coaching expertise. So I don't have to go out with them. They follow a little different program, and they don't actually go out with me. But it's the 21st century, so why not do virtual coaching? It's an easy way to learn my philosophy about this stuff. And then if they want, they can always come to Boston, or if they live in Boston, of course, we can just go out.
sure.
And you'll pay for them to come to Boston.
Yeah, of course. Why not? No.
Ultimate Social Freedom is the website. That's sort of the nerve center where you can find everything on here. Just give people your Twitter handle and Facebook where they can find you there, because obviously those are easy places.
Twitter is at Adam Lodolce, and my Facebook is just Facebook.com/Ultimate Social Freedom.
Okay.
That's my Facebook page.
All right. The
I
book
think you
you
should
have
lose
written.
the Adam and just be Lodolce.
It's pretty good.